So there are some people who think carriage horses are a competing business with pedicabs at Central Park. That's not exactly what's going on. So if you're a pedicab driver who does not have a motor on their pedicab and you have a license and you have insurance and you're following all the laws and you're not offering rides in a horse carriage around Central Park, I have no problem with you at all. Like, I'm happy you're doing your business. That's great. Go make some money. You're kind of freelancing, and that's like totally fine with me. As far as I know, there's only about maybe between 2 and 5 of you. I've only met one, but I'm assuming it's between 2 and 5 of about 1,000 pedicabs that are in New York City right now. The city licenses, I think it's between 600 or 800 pedicabs to get the license. Well, to get the license to drive a pedicab, it's like a very short survey. There's no like background check. You don't have to have a tour guide license. You don't need any like real safety training or anything. It's very basic. The license for the pedicab is only issued if there is no motor on the pedicab. So what a lot of guys do to pass the safety inspection, in fact, 99% of them, if they have a license and insurance, they remove the motor that's on the pedicab. There's no pedal assist or anything allowed here. They pass the inspection, they get the license sticker, and then they go and put the motor back on. So that's like cheating, and that's operating an illegal business, an illegal vehicle on New York City streets. It's basically a golf cart, which is not street legal. There are no motors allowed in Central Park. They banned cars in 2018. And you do have the pilot program of e-bikes and e-scooters running the past couple of summers, which a lot of people are actually trying to stop. There's a bill in City Council right now that's trying to prohibit electric bikes and electric scooters from operating in any New York City parks. They are, running red lights and striking people and going the wrong direction and speeding in the park, and they're actually dangerous now. So pedicabs were not included in that pilot program. So even if this bill doesn't go through, they're actually prohibited from being in the park. If they wanted to just pedal the pedicab, they are allowed here with a license. They are supposed to purchase insurance also. A lot of them will overload the pedicab. Whether it's a small kid or not, they're only permitted to have 3 passengers, no matter what size or age the passengers are, which is different from the laws of New York City carriage horses. They can have up to 6 people in the carriage, depending on the age of the children. They can only have up to 4 adults in a carriage. With pedicabs, you will often see them with lots of passengers. You will see them riding side by side, which is illegal in the park. It blocks the road. It's dangerous for vehicles trying to get by. It just causes a mess. And they actually advertise, 4 of you want to ride? We'll just go side by side. And that should be a ride that typically they would lose to a nice, comfortable horse carriage that does accommodate 4 people, instead of squeezing all those people into one pedicab or riding side by side. It's also voiding their insurance coverage when they overload the pedicab. Now, our big issue with them, aside from the fact that they're breaking laws and annoying people in the park, blasting amplified music, which is also prohibited, this is still going on because there's just not enough of enforcement in Central Park right now to corral this issue. They're picking up passengers at stations that are not legal for pedicabs to pick up passengers. So I mean horse carriage stands, areas of the park where it's an entrance and it gets very congested there, and there's actually a big sign that says no pedicab solicitation or picking up passengers there. No pedicabs can stop here, that kind of stuff. And they are there on a daily basis, a ton of them. Anyway, I was getting to our big issue with them is they actually violate fraudulent accosting laws in New York City. It's only a misdemeanor, but It's a pretty big issue when you have competing businesses on top of each other. There's actually a horse carriage stand near the Fifth Avenue entrance of the park by the East 60th Street corner, where there is a stand for pedicabs, but only 5 of them. And they are supposed to be licensed and not supposed to have the motor. I don't know of any legal pedicabs that are over there. But what they do is they have a picture of a horse carriage and they have a map of the park, and they will stop people on their way to the horse carriages, and they will run a bait and switch scam. So they'll say, hey, you looking for a horse carriage ride? The person stops. Yes, I'm looking for a horse carriage ride. And then they say, oh, actually, I'm the manager of the horse carriages. Right now, they're all on break. Or you can only book them online. Or they only offer a 20-minute ride, but we do an hour. Horse carriages actually also offer an hour, and they're all separate privately owned businesses regulated through the city. They have nothing to do with this guy on the street calling himself the manager. We're our own managers of our carriages. We don't know who that guy is. So they'll tell you any line they can get to get you to take these pedicabs. They'll tell them, oh, the horse carriages, they charge per person. It's much cheaper to take a pedicab. And often they actually overcharge people as well. But it's not priced per person in a horse carriage. It is priced per ride. So they have all kinds of lines that they will tell people. Oh, the horses are abused. That one's weird, because why would you offer something that you think is abuse? Didn't you start this whole conversation with guys looking for a horse carriage, like as if you had one to sell? It's also not abuse, as I've discussed in other videos. So this goes on a lot, and people fall for it. So what happens if the potential customer is like, no, I really want to go in the horse carriage? Well, first, the pedicab guy will push back as much as he can. He will just make up anything he can come up with. Oh, the horses smell, or this, anything he can possibly think of. And that's still kind of weird, because he started out his pitch as if he was working with us. In the end, if he can't actually convince these people to get in, what they'll either do is overcharge them, pocket some of that money, and walk them over to the carriages, or they'll just turn around and ignore them all of a sudden. And then they're like, oh, the carriage is over there. Or if they don't like a particular carriage driver, they may say, oh, don't go to that first one. They're booked up. Your carriage is a third carriage. So they think that they can still just kind of like mess with our industry if we try to fight back. And as carriage drivers, we do our best to stand together. But like I said, we're all separate, privately owned businesses. It becomes really messy out here. There is no reason we should be fighting people every day when we really just want to have this simple life of caring for our horse, coming out, driving, giving some customers some rides in the park. And then we just get like this music blasting. That guy wasn't that loud, but I'm like, as I mention it, they definitely go a lot louder sometimes. So yeah, something's got to get done. Now, I don't have an issue with someone who wants to take a pedicab ride, but the fact is, no one really puts a pedicab ride through Central Park on their bucket list. A lot of people do have a horse carriage ride in Central Park on their list. So we just want the people that want carriage rides to be able to get to the carriage drivers, hear what we have to offer, and if they choose to take a pedicab ride, that's fine. But they should be operating legally if that's their choice. These people don't know that they're getting into a vehicle that has no insurance if they're in an accident. They don't know that this guy's not licensed, that this isn't being run through the city. They have no idea about that. And why is our price set the way it is? Maybe it seems high to some people. It's probably one of the most affordable things to do in New York City for a family of 4. That's because we're actually paying insurance. We're paying for our licenses, our medallions, the care of our horse. These guys have virtually no overhead, especially when they're not operating legally. Some of the pedicabs don't even have a license sticker on the pedicab, and a lot of them actually just have a copy of someone else's license, so that's not a legal vehicle. There's not really any way to tell if it's a copy or not, not unless you actually, work for the DCA, DCWP. It will look exactly like the original. It's supposed to be on the handlebars. But if they do have the handlebars covered up in any way with some like flower decorations or something like that, that's usually a sign they don't have an actual license or a real one. This year's license color for 2025 is like kind of a purplish pink color, but again, that could be a copy. Some of the pedicabs are actually these oversized ones that are not the size that can be licensed by New York City. So if you see one that seats more than three people, that seats more than three people, that is not a legal licensed vehicle in New York City. A lot of them are doing this basically racketeering kind of thing now. There have been pedicab drivers who will park on the corner of 6th Avenue and Central Park South, blocking the entrance of the park, also making it really difficult for horse carriages to enter the park there, turnarounds to start rides, access their water trough, park on their carriage stand line. But these guys are actually telling horse carriage drivers, like, hey, I want to park my pedicab here, so you have to move your horse carriage out of the legal horse carriage stand, which actually has signage that says no pedicab soliciting, no pedicabs may park here. So that's kind of crazy. And then when carriage drivers refuse, I mean, they either put their pedicab way too close to the horse, which is dangerous, or they physically try to fight these guys and threaten them. It's really ridiculous. So these are not good guys for the most part, for you to be patronizing. Some of these pedicab guys have sucker punched horse carriage drivers out of nowhere just because they get annoyed that they can't always steal rides from them. Do you think that the guy that sells the handbags from Prada or Gucci or whatever on the street, the fake knockoffs, do you think that Prada and Gucci and all these stores down Fifth Avenue, Tiffany's or whatever, are going to let a guy stand outside, directly outside their door, and offer this fake merchandise right before they go in? Oh, hey, before you walk into that store, let me offer you this. It's way cheaper, it's better quality. And someone actually may fall for it, jokes on them, but people actually do fall for the pedicab scam. A lot of people. We lose a lot of business to them, which is unfair because these aren't two equal, legally licensed businesses competing. This is an illegal business, scamming people out of what they actually came here to do. That's where our issues lie with them. They actually become, the pedicab drivers, very aggressive and angry towards us if we try to fight back, even in a polite way. I've held up a big poster and all it says is the people that are offering horse carriage rides and have advertisements for them, out in the street are not affiliated with horse carriage drivers and they do not have a horse carriage ride to sell you. And just that alone, or saying that sentence alone, makes them go crazy. I've been physically assaulted by pedicab drivers, and I now carry pepper spray, and I wear a body camera because of those incidents. I, have called the police on them so many times. They kind of just say, hey, leave each other alone. And the problem is not getting resolved. This has been going on for many years, but the last few years have become a lot worse. We were moved from a highly visible spot right outside the park to entrances directly inside the park. As part of the city failing to do away with us, they thought they would pass all these laws to hurt our business by hiding us inside the park so that people have to go through a wall of pedicab drivers before they can get to us, amongst many things. You have a lot of powerful money behind these laws that are getting passed to specifically hurt our business. So the last few years, it's just gotten worse. The police will, park rangers, they'll do a sweep every now and then, and they'll confiscate a bunch of the pedicabs, but they get them back in a few weeks. I also heard that when these pedicab drivers go to pick up their confiscated pedicabs, they can get it back if they pay their fines and they show proof of insurance. But what's happening is when they're going to these places, they're showing them fraudulent paperwork for their insurance, fraudulent licenses. And there's no one from the DCA, Department of Consumer Affairs, which is now called the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. They're failing to do. And there's no one from there that can verify this is a real license or real paperwork or real insurance. So they're just getting it back. And it doesn't really make sense that you wouldn't be verifying this is real. They used to have agents from the DCA or DCWP now coming out to the park to see if this illegal motor was on there and, giving hefty tickets for all these kinds of violations. And it just doesn't happen anymore. They just pay their tickets and come out again and start scamming everyone again. They create a lot of congestion near the 6th Avenue and Central Park south entrance of the park. It's so dangerous sometimes just to get in there with all the bicycles and everyone trying to get in that one entrance, and you have like 20 pedicabs blocking it and the horses coming through, and it's just a mess. And the locals hate it. They do not want these things flying through the park. They're on the sidewalks, they go in the wrong way. It makes the front page news if a horse sneezes or looks at someone the wrong way these days. We get articles about the pedicabs here and there in the news, but it's not like we could just go around breaking the law every day. That would get noticed, there would be an uproar. Our stables are in prime real estate. There's a lot of big money that would love to tear those down, get rid of us. That's always been our biggest fight. That's where all the things you hear against carriage horses actually stems from, if you follow that, but that's for another video. So it's just become this thing where the city is kind of just letting these guys get away with murder. You have tourists that don't understand this issue's going on, and they're, feeding into it. They're now booking these rides online. They're hearing Facebook tourist groups tell them that this is a good thing to do. They don't know how disruptive their pedicab is being in the park by blasting all this music and bothering everyone else. They're actually feeding this. And we ask that tourists, be good tourists, support good legal businesses in the city. You don't want to take a horse carriage ride, that's fine, but find that one pedicab out there who is operating legally. I mean, you would think that, it couldn't be going on this long with 1,000 pedicab guys. You would think the city would do more, but they don't. They don't, and this is happening in front of us all the time. There have been physical altercations with pedicab drivers that get so annoyed they can't steal business from horse carriage drivers. They think that's their job. If they hear you say, hey, we're not affiliated with each other, they can't run their bait and switch scam. This one guy, just a couple weeks ago, he got into a verbal argument with a horse carriage driver who's a woman. And he was not able to steal this customer from her. So he started threatening her. And he said, like you might say to a guy, let's take this outside, or after work, we're going to fight kind of thing. Made some comments at her. And he said that he was going to follow her and find her after work. And he started following her. So she's like, why are you following me? And he's like, I'm not following you. I wound up seeing him sitting on a city bike outside the stable when I was going home from work. He didn't see me. But I asked, our horse carriage group online, I said, hey, why is this pedicab driver sitting out here? And that's how I got the rest of the story, that he actually showed up. He followed her to her job and sat outside waiting for her. She got so scared that she actually got another driver do her a favor and drive her home to another borough because she thought if she walked to the train, he might follow her. This is out of hand. This is over a ride, a customer who wanted to see Central Park. That's it. That's all this is over. Like I said, I've been in these physical altercations with these guys. I've had them intentionally try to cause an accident with my horse, just because I started calling them out on this kind of thing. They say that I must just have this prejudice against pedicab guys. I have no issues with them except that they're operating illegally and they're stealing business from my legal business. That's it. That's where my issues come from. I have no problems with them if they would just follow the law like we do. I mean, is it really so much to ask for? You can kind of see them out here. Let's see. So I don't know if you can see far down there. I'm kind of in the back of the line right now. But we have these horse carriages like right here. And these guys are right there, right at the entrance. And they're stopping people at that corner. And, you know, if you get any closer, you know, they just flip out. You know, you can get physically assaulted. You'll get verbally abused. I don't know the amount of time we had to call the police on these guys. And girls, I think there's maybe like 5 women possibly that do drive pedicabs too. I've seen them here and there, but not that common. Sometimes when I'm referring to them as illegal, I just want to be clear, this has nothing at all to do with immigration status or anything like that. The pedicab itself, not the driver, is what's illegal. I have no issues with where any of them came from. Our horse carriage business is primarily made up of immigrants as well. But the pedicabs are illegal. These are illegal businesses. And it's just amazing to me that the city cannot properly crack down on this. I've spent now 16 minutes talking about this. Imagine you had a restaurant and, you know, you sold pizza and there's a guy that sets up a little table outside. And right before you go in, he goes, wait, stop. I have this pizza. It's better. It's cheaper. Don't go in there. Let me sell you this. And it's just a guy in the street, you know, with a box of pizza. And the city's not going to crack down on this guy who is actually cooking the pizza in the restaurant and pays his license and pays his lease and all of this stuff to operate this food business when there's a guy just standing right outside his business, you know, illegally operating. Like, this should be a huge red flag. And people think, oh, no, the city would do something about that. The city is not doing anything about that. You guys stop patronizing these guys. There are pedicab drivers that say they don't even bother coming to work. They don't even bother coming to the park when the horse carriages are suspended because they don't know how to sell a ride in this little tricycle or tuk-tuk or rickshaw or whatever you call it in other places. They don't know how to make it sound appealing to people without leading them in with this lure of the horse carriage that they came here for. To me, if you have to lie and run a scam to do your business, you need to be in a new business. If you can't operate it legally without the motor, you need to be in a new business. And this just is not fair to anyone. And this is where our issues come from with them. And people need to understand that that's really what's going on.